I'd like to welcome to the call. Peter, are you on with us? Please welcome Peter James.
Good morning, guys. Can you hear me?
Excellent.
Good,
Yes.
good,
Thank you, Peter. So, I do have like some questions lined up that I wanted to kind of ask you to kind of get you into it.
Great.
We can get some information and really, this is, to me, this is about your experience with selling Liberty Bankers Life over the phone versus Royal Neighbors of America. And because for those of you guys who don't realize this, both of these carriers have 100% true tele application. So there's no e-app to fill out first. I know they both have like a worksheet, Peter. Do you use the worksheets when you do these, or do you not do that?
I do. Why? Because it's a flow, and they ask the questions the same way. So part of my job as the agent is to prep my client prior to the interview. And I tell my clients that I say, hey, don't worry, whoever you choose, I'm going to go through with you to make you comfortable with the process. So I'll ask the questions the same way, and then they'll ask the questions the same way to the client. So it's much easier for them. In some cases, if the client is too advanced with maybe 80 or 78, 79, and they need somebody, I'll go over physically to sit with them during the interview. But for the most part, it's on the telephone.
Okay, gotcha. Well, and you're going to be using our platform coming up, so you're going to be selling out of state. I know you're not used to selling over the phone out of state, but so that's going to be a little different. You're not going to be driving to the houses anymore. I don't think so. Okay, so let me ask you this. So what information do you have ready? What information do you get from the clients and have ready? And I'm assuming like the social security number, the banking beneficiary information, etc.
Yeah, I use the worksheet that you gave us. Definitely, that's what I use every time.
So that's it. You follow the flow of the worksheet.
I follow the flow of the worksheet. Date of birth, name, date of birth. I'm looking at it right here. The same one that we get: tobacco use, item weight, all of that stuff. Home address, bank address, and then the question: stroke, seizure, heart attack, stuff like that. And probably I'll just add a question in. What prescriptions have you been prescribed in the last 3 years that you're not taking?
Gotcha.
So even though they'll say, because clients feel that if I'm not taking the medication, then I'm absolved of the responsibility of what it entails. And then we go to the interview and they find it and they say, I stopped taking it. And I'm like, you didn't tell me that, so you want to know what they're not taking and then what they're taking. So that's like a composite.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you then, whose process is easier, Liberty Bankers Life or Royal Neighbors?
I would go for Liberty. And follow me on this. I'm doing Pennsylvania now, and they have certain stipulations in the county. And if anybody going to do it eventually, they want to get some other information. Liberty gives you a breakdown of what a 10-year, after 10 years, up to 20 years, and at 65. And in Pennsylvania, they're going to ask that question: what is the breakdown for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? And it's all right there. So say, for example, I'm using Prosperity and I'm doing the voice app, and even though this is not in it, I'll use Liberty as a guidance to see where the numbers are and what the payouts are at certain stages of it in terms of the cash value, because they require that.
Okay, so, and Liberty, so we're talking cash value. So Pennsylvania wants to know estimated cash value.
They want to know at 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. And Liberty has it outlined for the most part. Okay. So when I'm using Liberty as my primary in Pennsylvania, that question is answered easily because it's already there. They're the only carrier that does that.
Okay, so let me see if I've got this straight. So you're doing a telesale. You're talking to someone in Pennsylvania. Where is this question coming from? Is this like is it on the?
No, it's not.
It's not written down anywhere, right?
It's not there. It's a state regulation that they get that information from the 101, and you can write this on one. They want to know your IMO and the address. And I do for you, I go on the web and find it. They want to know if you gave them the state disclosure, which is the disclosure in terms of stuff, secondly. And the third thing they want to know is what's the breakdown for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in terms of cash value. And it's 65. Now, fortunately, Liberty has all of that information there. And if you don't know the 5 year, you can just do the half of the 10 year plus a little more, a little less.
Gotcha. You can guesstimate it. So
Right.
I'm going to make a statement here, because we know in our industry that agents write certain states for certain reasons. There's certain things that, like, if they have to jump through too many hoops, they're going to try to avoid it. The reason I'm bringing this up, guys, is Pennsylvania might actually be a good state, because if you're doing this a lot and you're writing different states, that adds extra work to our typical agent. And, in all honesty, a lot of agents, we want to try to go the shorter or the easiest path of least resistance, which tells me there's probably less people calling in Pennsylvania than maybe another state next to it. So maybe I'm wrong, but just something to think about, guys.
Right.
Okay, so would you mind kind of giving me like a blow by blow process for these carriers? Like,
Okay.
what's the process for, how does it work? If you could, like, you got the client, you close the sale.
Mhm.
Now what do you do?
Okay, I at Liberty, I'm going to start at Liberty. The little worksheet gives you like the name, the age, date of birth, doctor stuff. Beauty about it, they don't want a whole lot of stuff. They'll get the name. For example, they'll say, Kelly, what's the relationship of the first beneficiary? That's your daughter, and all you got to give is a birthday and probably a phone number. It's not a requirement in a sense. The name, the relationship, and if they're primary or contingent. Okay, but starting with Liberty, I get all the information, I put it together, I do the quota, I do the FX quota, I have it, and then it tells me the top. And usually Liberty comes on the top for the most part because their rates are very good, much better than Prosperity. So I'll go through that, then I'll give the client the information. I'll do the 3, gold, silver, and bronze. And then once they're set up that way, then I share with them. But it's very important here that you qualify before what method of payment, because Liberty is not going to do credit cards. So you want to make sure that when you're telling the client the quotes, that they have something compatible. Is that a savings or a checking? They can do a quarterly, biannually, or a yearly payment. Sweet enough, and this is kind of throwing it in, but if you pay for the first year in advance, there is a 20% discount with Liberty Bankers. So if
that is pretty huge.
It is huge. 20% in the first year for payments. If it's going to be $1,000, then you pay $800 for the same thing if you pay it annually. But as a tele agent, usually it's broken down in increments. So I go through the questions with the clients, and I have them here. As I tell them, I sell myself on the fact that, hey, I'm going to work with you and make sure you qualify. So first question, have you been diagnosed or treated positive? One of the big things you want to look for with Liberty is that in the last year, if they have been in the hospital for more than 5 days, then that's probably going to be a no-no. So you want to kind of find out from the client, if you've been in the hospital. That's your question you're adding in separately. So I'll go through the questions with them. And then once they say yes, I said, everything that you just told me, you're going to say the same thing to the carrier. You don't have to explain anything. Don't go into any discussions as to whatever. It's just yes or no. I call up the number 844-442-9871, which is like MRS kind of sort of. Note here, they're Social Security billing. So it's quite convenient for you. The price is good. It's Social Security billing, true Social Security billing. As you said, 18 to 80 years old. Now, there's certain things that you don't qualify for the younger set. So you got to be kind of careful, like lupus, if they're below 40, then they probably wouldn't get qualified. Even though you qualify lupus as a standard product, the good thing is that you have the Premier and the standard. Now, my tip behind the scenes is if you're doing a Premier and you suspect that the client might be standard, run the rates for twice and have the premium or the Premier. quote them at the higher rate for the standard and say, hey, if we run into a situation where, you want 15,000 and we get you through on the Premier, I can bump it up to 20,000 because the price is going to be in the same range. You find out how much they want to commit. If it's $50 and $50 give them $1,000 here and it give them 1,500 here. Once you know what they're going to spend, then you can juggle around it. But I would say 80% of the folks I talk with get for the Premier. They're truthful because they're just saying that buyers are liars. You got to be careful. But at 30, so I'd run it by just in case they come back and they say, hey, you read them the HIPAA information and you told them what they're going to expect. You send them the disclosure. You can do it through text or you can do it through email. With Royal Neighbors, it's a little different. They'll send them the information now through email, but you have to, if you don't do that, then the interview is over in that respect for Royal Neighbors. For the Liberty Bankers, it's kind of a little more. They're trying to modernize it now that they can send it. But back to what I was saying, you run a secondary for standard just in case, and then you can present that and you can work around it in that. As I said, the payment option, you want to find that out, because if it's not a check or savings or checking, then you're going to run into some issues because you can't go further with Liberty.
With these telephonic applications, the client still does need to have an email or text, or can they be approved without that?
Yeah, they don't need to have a text for Liberty Bankers or email. It's just a straight voice. And when you go in, basically you tell them that it's the voice application that you're getting, and they say the recording. They're going to get your number, so if something happens, they can call you back. With Royal Neighbors, they basically are they want a driver's license, or they're going to need a passport, and they're going to ask you to look at it. So you can tell the client to take a picture of their passport front page or their driver's license, send it to you. They're going to ask you if you did review the stuff on it. Yes. And some people do a shortcut and just get the license number and the state, and
Right.
they ask you the same thing, and you can do that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So you can do it if you have the ID number or the license number.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
But it's true phone. There's no paperwork that you have to submit. And that's what I like about it. It might take a little longer sometimes than the e-app, which I don't fool with a whole lot because it's straight voice. But once you have the client settled in terms of knowing what to expect, and it's good to let them know beforehand, guys, here's how it's going to go. They're going to ask you these questions,
Okay.
and you can run through it. But ask me the question, Doug. I guess I can answer it much better.
All right. So, I mean, that's basically the idea. So let me, the one question. So I'm just going to ask you, who do you like better? Which one? Who would you prefer to write more of? Liberty Bankers Life or Royal Neighbors? Royal
Neighbors is a little pricier, but they're more comprehensive. Like I've had people not made Liberty Bankers and they make Royal Neighbors. So it's a good go-to, like Prosperity. And I ran another company called Family Benefit, which will give you some better bang for extreme situations. But Liberty, because they offer two different levels of, you have the Premier and the Standard and their first day coverage. I like those. I kind of like Liberty, and the pricing is much better. And it's an easier process, a little simpler than Royal Neighbors once you send them the requirements.
Okay, excellent. Now, Kelly, I see you got your hand up. I'm going to unmute you. Have you, or I was going to try.
Yes.
There you go.
There I am. Peter, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I do some Liberty as well. Can you identify what that cash value, 5, 10, 15? I've never had that come up in an interview. Are you saying that the carrier wants to verify that you've shared with them what the cash values will be? Where's that coming from?
Pennsylvania. Only in Pennsylvania. Only in Pennsylvania I've had that experience. So to the rest of the states, I do Alabama, Florida, Georgia, it doesn't really. But in Pennsylvania, some states have some little quirky requirements. like New York has certain things, and but Pennsylvania specifically, they just, if you're selling in Pennsylvania, they want to know the cash value stuff. And if you're doing the say you don't use the FX quota, you use the actual software that they produce, that three thing, Doug, that we're talking about. It's going to give you, it details it for 10-year and 20-year and 65. So you don't have to guess. It's right there. If you do
on
it
the agent portal, when you do the telephonic app on the agent portal?
when you're doing the quotes, say you're doing the quotes and you input in the information and the name, the age, if it's double indemnity or whatever, that tool that they provide from Liberty Bankers, you can get it on the App Store or in Google Play. You can download it. I have it on my portable as well as it's on my desktop.
Right.
But when you click that specific application, not the fixed code that will give you everything, that tells you the cash value after 10, 20 years. So you can have it right there to quote. And only in Pennsylvania that I know of. Only in Pennsylvania.
Thank you. I'm working on getting that non-resident license. So thank you so much, Peter.
Yeah, not a problem.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. Good stuff, Peter. I really appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you very much.
Not a problem.
I know you're going to be doing you're coming on, you're working with the Leads platform and everything. That's started today, right?
I have an 11 o'clock appointment, my first one, and then I think I got room for some more, and then I have one at 6 o'clock. So
yeah, the first day is usually pretty slow. The way it worked when we run, when we advertise on Sunday, it's going to be slower than like your Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. So excellent. Arlene, I see you've got your hand up. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay. I had a question. Since he is not on the platform yet, how are you getting your leads if you're doing telesales?
Networking is my biggest way to get leads, and I get a fair amount of referrals. Doug told me a while back, you're going to run out, and I'm running out. So your warm market referrals, and I've done a lot of quotes. And then I had a database. I've been doing it since 2014 solely. So I've had customers when I was with Lincoln Heritage, American, so I go back to my database and try to reach those folks, and they give me referrals sometimes from them. And I do prospecting and generic, but I do a lot of networking. Gotcha.
But you hadn't bought any other leads through another lead source?
Intermittently, I'd get some, and Doug will tell you this, I used to do that, but then I stopped because I kind of work it in. But now I'm trying to look at a system, which I figure this one is going to deliver from the Facebook crowd what I do. But yeah, I'm not full-time like you guys. I'm more part-time, leisurely, but I'm trying to get back to that now.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you. John, you got your hand up. Fire away, man.
Hey, I want to make sure that I heard you correctly, but did I hear that Royal Neighbors requires proof of ID?
Yeah, on the form, I'm looking at it right here. It says passport. If I've written people that are resident aliens, or what you call green card holders.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah, they want a green card number if the person is a resident alien, that you got to look for that. But if they're a U.S. citizen, then you don't have to go through all of that stuff. But they need to know what you looked at, if it's a passport or a driver's license. Usually it's more driver's license. That's easy.
Gotcha. I thought I was going to do a lot of follow-up phone calls here in a minute, so I appreciate you clarifying.
It says state ID, type of ID seen, passport, state ID, or permanent resident ID. And those are the three.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Excellent, guys. And guys,
one thing on that.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. So one thing on that, Royal Neighbors, John. So in the very beginning of the call, they ask you, is the client present with you? And you say no. And they say, what form of identification did you check? And you're saying driver's license, and that's it. They're not asking for the number if they're a US citizen and you say driver's license, even if they're remote. And then they make that one statement to them. So you're covered, man. You don't have to, don't sweat it. You're good.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. I've always just said no. I'm like, it's telesales. They're like, we just got to ask a question, but we get it. So I sometimes I wonder if they even care. Hey, on Liberty Bankers, I haven't written them much, but I did like their new e-app process, if that's what it is, because you fill out the application, or you can just call them directly and have them ask the questions. But if you do that, was it pre-check or whatever they call it?
Yeah, they call it pre-check.
Then they don't, then you get transferred to a live person. They ask them the other authorization questions, but then they give it back to you to where you actually can share with the client whether or not they got rated or they're approved as applied for, et cetera, which is nice because it takes some random person from saying, oh no, they got declined, or hey, they got approved for the standard, not their, preferred rating or whatever it is. So I kind of like that part about Liberty Bankers.
So they do give you, Liberty Bankers does give you two different options, either the whole
Mhm.
thing over the phone or
The
half and
pre-check.
half.
Yeah, there's a pre-check thing, but I don't do the pre-check. I'm just straight,
Gotcha.
voice.
You
Yeah.
just want to do the voice. Gotcha. Excellent. So that's good information, guys. This is great
Mhm.
stuff. All right. Arlene, you got another question?
Yeah, okay, because I was just going off based on the email. I guess that's why I assumed he was already on the platform, but since he's just starting on it this week, John, are you going through the Brandon route so that you don't have to wait to increase your, budget right off, or what exactly are you doing with that?
Yeah, I'm just starting this week with letting Brandon handle everything for me. So
Oh, that's somebody
John,
different.
how many appointments?
I'm sorry, I thought it was the same person.
John, how many
I
appointments did you get yesterday?
apologize, John. I apologize. I was thinking that the guy that was talking was John. That's somebody totally different.
That's okay. You can
I'm
call me
sorry.
John. Just write me a check.
if you're not letting Brandon handle everything, I got one piece of advice: let Brandon handle everything.
Yeah, he's doing it for me, so I'm kind of laid back somewhat.
I didn't count the amount of appointments, but I bet I got 40 something appointments yesterday. I think.
So
Oh,
I do want to mention that. So John, you started with doing it out of my account yesterday. So we set you up in 3 locations, right? 3 locations. And out of your 3 locations, I was counting, it was somewhere around 46 appointments for today and tomorrow. Does that sound about right?
Yeah,
For one day of advertising through my account?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's guys. So that's the kind of amount of appointments you're gonna be able to have once you get that budget increased. I mean, John's at it's got to be around 250, 275 a day. So we're looking at he's going all out this week. He's going, he's got the $1,200 budget for the week, and he wants to hit that 40,000 annualized premium for May. So keep in mind, guys, the higher the budget, the easier it is for the algorithms to work for you. We've talked about that. And the nice thing about Brandon doing this for you is that, you don't have to wait for your budget for Facebook to slowly increase your budget. I know somebody was on the platform for at least 2 weeks and they asked for a budget increase and they got from $50 to $100 and they got turned down. I'm like, they want more time just to drag it on. And it's just hard to make a living that way, guys. So we've eliminated that problem for you.
One more thing, Doug. Liberty Bankers, they pay, you can get as earned, or you can do the advance. It takes about 5 days because they want to make sure, and it's probably a good thing for you, you don't get a chargeback, but it takes about 5 days for them to kick the money out to you. Once you do it, you put it in.
Are you talking about per application?
That's my experience.
So you can one you can do the 9 months and the other you can get paid as earned.
Right.
Wow.
I do as earned because there's no chargeback if they don't get the money in that respect.
Gotcha.
So,
All right. Awesome. All right. Good stuff. So guys, I got a few more things I want to touch on. Thanks again, Peter. I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Anytime.
I really do.